I think a really underrated character that is not talked about enough within the Star Wars games is Starkiller. So let's talk about him and unbox his lightsaber. Hi, I'm Alex. I make content centered around all things nerdy, so stick around. So we all know that Darth Vader, he wasn't exactly loyal to Emperor Palpatine. He was definitely plotting to take him down, but here's a cool twist. In Star Wars Legends, Vader actually started scheming way before the original trilogy by secretly training his own apprentice. Starkiller. Yep, you heard that right. Starkiller, aka Galen Marek, he was the main character in the Force Unleashed games, where we saw him go from being this kid of 2 Jedi to becoming an absolute powerhouse as Vader's Sith apprentice. Sure, the games, they're not canon anymore, but his story is still a wild ride that's totally worth knowing. Okay, so the Force Unleashed, it dropped in 2008, right when the Clone Wars animated movie and the show were kicking off. So this means that Starkiller, he's been around just as long as Clone Wars icons, but his journey, it's a mix of tragedy, betrayal, and some serious character growth, and it is not talked about enough. So let's dive into everything we know about Vader's secret apprentice in Legends, from his epic beginnings to his dramatic fate. Galen Marek, he was basically born into a Jedi soap opera. His parents, Kento and Mani Marek, they were both Jedi, but instead of sticking to the whole no attachments rule, they secretly got hitched and they pieced out of the order just to go off and live their best lives. It was happily ever after, but as Star Wars tends to go, things didn't stay peaceful for long. When Order 66 went down, the Mareks, they spent some time on the run before finally settling down with the Wookiees, but it seemed like a solid plan until trouble found them. Mani, she tragically met her end quite quickly, and then their Jedi presence, it put them on the Empire's radar. Enter Darth Vader, the Dark Lord himself. He showed up and he took down Kento in battle, and that was kind of it really. Galen was now an orphan, but not for long. Vader, he saw potential in him and he decided to take him under his very ominous wing. After all, the kid had Jedi blood running through his veins and was naturally gifted in the Force. And let's be real, Vader wasn't exactly the sentimental type. He wasn't saving Galen out of the kindness of his mechanical heart. It was all part of his bigger plan. Still holding a grudge against Emperor Palpatine and always sort of like scheming for a way to take him down, Vader decided to mould Galen into the ultimate weapon. So instead of leaving the kid behind, off they went on their merry way. So here's the twist. This wasn't your usual Sith apprenticeship. Vader, he kept Galen a total secret from the Emperor, raising him in the shadows as a hidden enforcer, training him to just be this brutal force of destruction. From the moment he could swing a lightsaber, Galen's life was all about one thing and one thing only, and that's serving Vader and one day helping him overthrow the Emperor. And of course, things, they were never just going to be that simple. Back on Vader's massive and very intimidating ship, the Executor, the Dark Lord, he decided that Galen needed a new cool alias, so boom, Starkiller was born. As part of the deal, Vader, he also wiped out any memories of Galen's past, just fully transforming him into his personal secret weapon. Training under Vader, it's not for the weak. It was brutal, it was intense, and it borderline torture, but Starkiller, he didn't just endure it, he embraced it. He pushed himself to the limit, fully dedicated to becoming the ultimate Sith enforcer, and over the years, he and Vader developed a strong, if not like super unhealthy bond, with Starkiller remaining fiercely loyal to his master. But here's where things get really wild. In a grand show of deception, Vader straight up killed Starkiller in front of Emperor Palpatine. Yep, he'd literally just murdered him on the spot to prove his loyalty to the Sith. But another plot twist, it was all part of the long game. Vader then later brought Starkiller back to life, patching him up and setting him right back on his path of servitude. It was like the most toxic master-apprentice relationship ever, and it's just not given enough credit. Starkiller wasn't just Vader's student, he was also his personal hitman, tracking down and eliminating targets all across the galaxy, like this Sith-powered Dog the Bounty Hunter. From assassinations to high-stakes missions, he did whatever his master demanded, no questions asked, he was just ready to go. Then came the ultimate test. Vader sent Starkiller after none other Jedi Master Shaak Ti. It was like this make-or-break moment, proving whether Starkiller was truly the unstoppable force Vader had shaped him into. Fast forward to his resurrection, because getting killed by Vader was just like another Manic Monday, right? And Starkiller got a shocking new mission. Raise an army against Emperor Palpatine however he saw fit. The catch? He had to completely cut ties with Vader. At first, he followed the orders like the loyal enforcer he had always been, but over time, it shifted. The blind loyalty, it started to crack. And Galen Marek, the person he used to be began resurfacing, and eventually his growing doubts and disillusionment took over, setting him on this path that even Vader couldn't control. Galen was still technically doing Vader's dirty work, gathering rebel forces, just like his master had told him to, but something unexpected happened. He actually started to care. The more he spent with the rebels, the more he believed in their cause, and then suddenly he wasn't just following orders anymore, he was fighting for something real. And before he knew it, he was rubbing elbows with some of the biggest names in the rebellion, even like Leia Organa herself. And just like that, Starkiller went from being Vader's secret assassin to a full-blown symbol of the rebellion. He was set to lead the charge, their fearless figurehead, ready to just take on the Empire. And then, because of course Vader did what Vader does best, betrayal, the Dark Lord crashed the party, proving once again that trusting him it's never a good idea. Just don't do it. Vader being the absolute worst, he dropped a bombshell on the gathered senators, exposing Starkiller's past and turning the whole situation into this massive betrayal-fueled disaster. Just to twist the knife, he rounded up the rebels and sent them off for execution. Just a classic Vader move. Galen barely made it out alive after his showdown with his old master, but once he recovered, he had one mission, and that was to save his friends. This time, there was no more Starkiller. He had fully embraced his real name, Galen Marek, and more importantly, he embraced what he had spent so long running from. The Jedi way, with nothing but like sheer determination and some seriously powerful Force abilities, he stormed the Death Star to rescue the rebels, and in the end he succeeded, but at the ultimate cost. Galen gave up his life so that the Rebel Alliance could survive, proving that he wasn't just some secret Sith weapon. He was actually a hero. Starkiller, he wasn't just strong in the Force, he was, like I said earlier, an absolute powerhouse. His connection to the Force, it was so intense that he could pull off an insane variety of abilities, making him one of the most overpowered Force users out there. At first, he was all about the dark side, mastering the more destructive, aggressive powers that fit perfectly with Vader's brutal training, but that came with a downside. Using the light side abilities, especially the ones that weren't combat focused, it felt like trying to speak a language that he barely knew. That all changed though when Galen embraced the light. Once he fully stepped away from the Sith path, he unlocked a balance between both sides of the Force, making him an even bigger threat. He could now wield devastating dark side powers while also tapping into the light side's more refined abilities, giving him this truly unstoppable skill set. Out of all his talents, these were the ones he mastered best. And I'll pop them here on the screen for you to see. Starkiller might not be officially part of the Star Wars canon since the big 2014 rebranding, but his legacy hasn't been completely erased. In fact, little pieces of his story and character keep sneaking their way into the newer Star Wars universe. One of the coolest nods is Andor. You can actually spot a version of Starkiller's Sith Stalker armor chilling in Luthen Rael's gallery on Coruscant, the same place where he secretly meets with Mon Mothma to plot against the Empire. It's a subtle Easter egg, but it's easily the biggest direct Starkiller reference in canon so far. It's not all though. Beyond just a cool armor cameo, there's at least one major story beat in modern Star Wars that seems to have drawn inspiration from Starkiller's journey. While he may not officially exist in the current timeline yet, his influence, it's definitely still lurking in the shadows. Vader might not have a secret overpowered apprentice like Starkiller in canon yet, but he does have something pretty similar, and these are the Imperial Inquisitors. These dark side enforcers, they basically fill kind of like the same role that Starkiller did, hunting down Jedi and other Force sensitives under Vader's command. And in a way, the Inquisitors, they feel like a canon-friendly version of Starkiller. I don't know if I'm clutching at straws here, but they do carry out his dirty work without the whole potentially overthrowing the Emperor subplot. But while they may be his spiritual successors, they don't quite match his sheer unstoppable power. That said though, Star Wars, it hasn't forgotten Starkiller, I hope. Between Easter eggs like the Sith Stalker armor in Andor and the thematic nods in modern stories, it's clear that his impact still lingers in the galaxy. fans like myself are still holding out hope that he'll make the leap into canon one day. And honestly, with the way Star Wars loves reviving Legends characters, anything is kind of possible. And that sort of wraps up the epic origin story of Starkiller, the Sith assassin turned rebel hero who almost changed the fate of the galaxy. From a secret apprentice to a symbol of rebellion, his journey remains one of the most intense and emotional arcs in Star Wars gaming history. But what do you think? Should Starkiller make a return to Star Wars canon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, I'm just going to nag you only one time to do all of the things you need to do to support my tiny channel. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with you.